Geronimo Stilton, Cavemice, a Mammoth mystery. It was a fabulous morning in late summer. The sun had just come up. A light breeze flew from the sea, and the baby pterodactyls chirped happily. Ah, it was a perfect morning to do some very important work. My name is Geronimo Stiltonut. Geronimo Stiltonut. I always have very important work to do because I run the Stone Gazette, the most fab, famous newspaper in all of prehistory. So, what if it was the only one? Anyway, that morning I woke up early and climbed behind the wheel of an Autosaurus. The meaning of Autosaurus is Autosauruses are dinosaurs that transport objects and passengers. I was ready to get my paw in gear. My sister Tia and my associate Willie Upsnot were waiting for me impatiently at the entrance of the Stone Gazette's office. Boss, you asked us to be ready. And we are, Upsnot squeaked. But, what are we ready for? Inquiring mice need to know. Tia continued. Why in the name of cheese did you, the laziest rodent in all of prehistory, wake up so early? And what are you doing on that Autosaurus? I held my paw up to calm them down. I called you for three very simple reasons. 1. The summer heat is already behind us. 2. There still time. There's still time before the rainy season. 3. The Stone Gazette is more popular than ever. Makes sense? Boss? Boss? Upnote said, tugging on his tail. I didn't understand a single coconut of what you just said. Holy boulders. I left out the most important thing, I squeaked. Because you to meet me this unmousely hour because we have no more slabs on etch which to etch the Stone Gazette. What? Tia cried. But how will I write my articles? Upsnut launched into a Paleozoic panic. And how will I publish my fabulous, informative 30 slab supplements like how to pick your Autosaurus? Well, that's why I called you. I said, I need your help getting some extra stone slabs from the cavern. This is the perfect time to do it. Without a second to waste, we rode the Autosaurus up the plateau above Old My City. When we reached the cavern, we got to work. Extracting slabs from the rock is the most statically exhausting job. Even so, we worked all morning until Upsnoot actually dropped a slab right on my paw. Oh, what megalithic pain! I howled so loudly that it started a landslide from top of the plateau. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The rocks were rolling right towards us. We were going to be mice. Unbelievably, the avalanche stopped just 2 millitails away from us. Phew, we were saved by a whisker. When the cloud of dust caused by the landslide finally vanished, we found a truly monstrous surprise right in front of us. The rolling boulders had cracked other stones, craving out perfectly flat slabs for our prehistoric newspaper. Triple Triceratops horns. It was a lucky day. I scurried over to take a look at the slabs, but slipped on a rock and banged snout first into the slab that Thea and Upsnoot were lifting. Bonk! The slab split into two, and a bump big as a coconut popped on my head. Foulest Feta, what a day! Are you okay, little brother? Tia asked. Maybe you should let us take it from here, boss, Upsnoot suggested. My head was still spinning, so I nodded and stepped off to the side. I grabbed Jurassic first aid kit and bandaged my paw while Tia and Upsnoot finished loading the slabs. Then Tia lifted me onto the Otosaurus, climbed on herself, grabbed the reins, and headed for Old Mouse City. After riding for a while, Upsnoot suddenly squeaked. The sky is getting darker. A storm's coming. Fur and fossils. Had the rainy season come early? Stay calm, Tia said. We'll be back in Old Mouse City before a single drop of rain falls. But just then, boom! A megalithic cloud clap of thunder made us jump out of our fur. I don't like the sound of that, Upsnoot cried. Look over there, Tia squeaked, pointing. As I followed her paw, I could see a herd of mammoths racing across the clearing around Old Mouse City. They galloped wildly, making the ground tremble as their fur swung in the wind. Fossils. The mammoths seemed super scared. They were shaken up, frazzled, and totally terrified. Mammoths are peaceful animals. They would never hurt anyone. The worst thing they might do is to get a bit stinky sometimes. But they are scared out of their fur of lightning. Tia said firmly, we need to get back to the city before the storm reaches us. But at that moment, a gust of wind made the Altosaurus swerve away. He ended up smashing into the trunk of a Paleozoic palm tree. Bang! You won't believe it, dear rodent friends, but we hit the only tree within hundreds of tails. What a megalithic bad luck. Tia didn't get discouraged. She put her snout down and continued steering the Otosaurus through the storm. My sister must be determined, the most determined rodent in all of prehistory. Come on, big guy, Tia urged him. We're almost there. Unfortunately, even Otosaurus' head was hard as a granite. He was still stunned from slamming into the holy boulders. He was super stumbly. We almost reached the bottom of the hill. The poor Otosaurus accidentally stepped on a hole. He tripped on one side. Whoa! All the stone slabs fell on the ground, breaking into 1,000 tiny pieces. Crash! But that wasn't all. Upsnoot and I were catapulted forward. We both fell onto the part which our paws in the air. Bam! But since the path headed downhill, we didn't stop there. No, we began to roll in a big heap. Big heap of snouts and paws forming a megalithic landslide. Goodbye, cave mouse world, I squeaked. I'm too young to be extinct. Upsnoot cried. We tumbled further, farther and farther, until we were more mixed up than mammoth's milkshakes. Finally, we smacked right into the walls of surrounding Old Mouse City. Splat! Ow, ow, ow. My paws felt like mush and my back was bruised and my tail was tangled. Basically, I was minced mouse. Oh, I am not feeling so great, boss. Absnot mumbled, massaging his shoulder. I nodded, and my head spun. I was doing a lot better before too. Tia and the Otosaurus appeared above us. My sister shook her head. Oh, for of all of the cheese in Mouse City, Old Mouse City, are you two okay? I think so, we nodded. Good, Tia replied. We should get going. We need to get back to the city in 2 states of a mouse still. Finally, we made it back to the Mouse City, soaked, bruised, and without a single stone slab for our newspaper. What a megalithic disaster! All of that was bad. The fleeing of of the mammoths was even worse. What will we do without our mammoth milk? Tia asked, tugging on her whiskers. Did you know that mammoth milk is the most essential ingredient in the mammoth milkshakes? The favorite drink of the Cavemice. We had mammoth milkshakes in reserves in case of emergency, but they won't last long. Great rocky boulders, we had to do something and fast. Mammoth milkshakes are prepared with curdled mammoth milk, lemon juice, a pinch of salt, and water. I hadn't even set paw in my cave when the storm finally hit. There was lightning, thunder, and hail as big as pala- Paleozoic walnuts. In no time, the city was submerged in water and mud, almost city ground to a halt. No one could go to the market, take a run along the river, or bring the baby Otosaurus out for a walk. It was a megalithic mess. The storm lasted all night. When it finally stopped in the next morning, it seemed like an entire Stonehenge had passed. I was about to scamper over to the newsroom. What a Shrikdovaki day. A sickering panoramic, of course, began yelling news across the city. Listen up, citizens of Old Mill City. Here now is by orders of the village leader Ernest Mouse. You are asked to attend a special assembly on at the Mammoth Milkshake Pantry right now. Triple Triceratops horns. If Ernest Heftimos was calling an assembly, the mammoth situation must be even worse than I thought. I left my house as fast as my paws would take me. The milkshake pantry was a big cave under the plateau that overlooks Old Mouse City. Inside, enormous stone containers hold the mammoth milkshake reserves. The drink is so tasty and hydrating that it's one of the cave mice's prized possessions. The pantry was packed with a crowd of wildly worried rodents. Ernest Heffimer stepped in front of the room. Dear citizens, I am afraid I have some megalithically bad news. Our eyes opened wide and we all held our breaths. It was quiet enough to hear a whist twitch, whisker twitch. Last night's last night's storm caused some very serious damage to the mammoth milkshake reserves. Ernest continued. No, we all squeaked at once. Water and mud swept into the stone containers, and mammoth milkshakes have turned into sticky and stinky, undrinkable sludge. No, needless to squeak, our reserves are completely ruined. No, I couldn't believe my ears. What now? One rodent asked in despair. Let's go to the mammoth Another suggested, we can ask for more men. Ernest frowned. Speaking of the mammoths, during the storm, our patched friends ran away. The crowd was full-fledged Paleozoic panicked. We need an emergency plan, Healer Bluster Conjurat exclaimed. I propose that we split into teams. Each team can look for the mammoths on different parts of the island. Massive meteorites. Bluster was right. We need to find the mammoths and bring them home. It was the only way we could get more of our beloved mammoth milkshakes. I already knew what to do. I would team up with Tia, my cousin Trap, and my friend Hercule Poirot, the best detective in all of prehistory. Ernest Hefty Mouse assigned us to look for the mammoths around the Cheddar volcano, bones and stones. That was the most dangerous volcano in the Cavemice world. Our team was excited and energized, like mice on a cheese hunt. We needed to find our mammoth friends, and we needed to do it fast. Squish, slush, splash. At every step, our paws turned into the mud, left over from the storm. Petrified pro volcano, it was like walking through the swamp. After what seemed like a whole geological era, we arrived at the foot of the Cheddar volcano. We ducked into the chestnut forest to reach our aching paws. Aching claws. Puff, pant, huff. I can't go any farther. I collapsed, leaning on the trunk of a tree. You are softer than a Jurassic mozzarella, Geronimo. Hercule teased me, nibbling on a banana. Before I could respond, bonk! Something hit me square on the snout. Oh, what was that? I squeaked. I looked up towards the tree. The three branches just in time to see a storm of big, thorny chestnut hucks raining down us. Pock, 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 pock. But who? What? Where? Oh no! The flying squirrels! Tia exclaimed, covering her head with her paws. Flying squirrels. Classification: rodents of the snare species. Habitat: chestnut woods. Characteristics: speed, agility, and great aim. They fly from one branch to another, nibbling on Paleozoic chestnuts and playing pranks on anyone who crosses their path. They can be growled, so be careful not to make them mad. You may not know this, but flying squirrels are the rudest animals in all of prehistory. They spend their time flying from one period of prehistoric tree to the next, thinking up jokes and pranks to pull on someone whoever crosses their path. In this case, the unlucky target was us. Careful, incoming! Trap warned, dodging a chestnut husk. The squirrels did some incredible leaps from one branch to another. Holy boulders! It seemed like they were flying, but we didn't have time to admire their acrobatics. We had to avoid the hailstorm of husks. Ow! Ah! Ugh, what a Paleozoic plain! Tia thought fast and came up with a solution. She pointed at the empty trunk of a fallen tree. Let's hide in there. We all ducked inside the trunk as quickly as our paws would take us. Phew! Great rock boulders. Why do these squirrels have it out for us? I asked, massaging my aching head. What a silly question, Geronimo, Hercules said. Those nice little animals don't have it out for us. They're just defending their territory. Nice little animals, I cried. They turned me into a Paleozoic pinchu cousin. Come on, cousin, Trap said, rolling his eyes. How about instead of complaining you think of a way to get us out of here? Aren't your brains of the family? Ha! Hercules squeaked, elbowing me. What's your genius idea? Bones and stones. What was I supposed to say now? I didn't have a single coconut of an idea what to do next. Shriek, shriek! Suddenly a sharp piercing sound made us all jump out of our fur. What was that sound? I yelled. Quiet, you Jurassic fool, Hercules said. You mean to tell me you don't recognize it? I had lost my cheese. What was Hercules talking about? Should I be worried? I mumbled. Of course you should, Tia said. That's the call of the most dangerous and cunning predators in Stone Age history. Boulders of brie, just what we needed. My whiskers began wobbling in fear. It's a fairy falcon, my sister continued. The flying squirrel's number one enemy, and it must be very hungry based on how loudly it's shrieking. Sure enough, hearing the falcon's distant cry, the squirrels darted off to hide. The three branches, that falcon was definitely looking for a snack. We stayed still and quiet in our hiding place. After we seemed like a geological era, I felt an annoying tingling in my paw. I uh, pr- prettified pro volcano. I really needed to sit down and stay my position and speak. I had actually sat right on top of a chestnut husk. I leaped and popped right through the hollow tree trunk with my head. Ouch! What magnetic pain! But even worse, gulp. Now I was face to face with the fairy falcon. I made a prehistoric squeak, a mixture of pain and terror. That was it. I was really extinct now. Squeak! My squeak was so loud that I actually scared the falcon and he flew away. Jurassic Jack cheese. I couldn't believe it, but then I fell as heavy as a boulder and landed my poor undertail again. Bonk! Oh, for all the thorns on a cactus. I was sore all over and shaking from the end of my whiskers to the tip of my tail. But I was safe. Phew! Trap, Clea and Hercule rushed out of their hiding place and in the empty trunk. Habuma's job, little brother Tia cheered. Taking off that was a marvelous idea. Trap agreed, looking shocked. How did you do that? Well, I've been exercising, I stammered, rubbing my sore throat. See, Hercules said, putting a paw around my shoulders, you have learned a thing or two from spending so much time with me. Well, actually, I said. Quick, Tia interrupted. Let's get our tails in gear before the flying squirrels come out of their hiding. Together, we left the woods as fast as our paws would take us. We have found those missing mammoths. We had to find those missing mammoths. We crossed a large flat area and unfortunately the rain had made the ground really sticky, really muddy, and really sketchy. Yuck! Walking was megalithically exhausting. Plus, we didn't spot a single trace of the mammoths. Just then, I thought things couldn't possibly get worse. We found ourselves facing a stretch of quicksand. Hercules put up a paw and husked something not right. You're telling me, I said. I'm not going through that quicksand. No, Geronimo, that's not what I mean. Don't you smell that horrific stench? Hercules is just the best detective in all of prehistory. Plus, it's the only one. And he almost never makes a mistake. Let's see how strange. He went on sniffing in the air and consoled expressions on his snout. And I can't figure out what type of stench it is. Is it dinosaur droppings? Is it rotten bananas? Is it traps? Pow! I don't smell a thing, Trap said, sniffing with his snout in the air. I believe that, I said. You haven't taken a bath in at least 5 geological eras. You have such a strong stench, you can't smell anything else. Hey, I just batted 2 months ago, Trap protested. Hercules squeaked. Hercules suddenly squeaked and clapped his paws over his mouth. Husk, I figured, I figured it out. I smell the stench of the saber-toothed tigers. Holy rolling boulders, saber-toothed tigers, the enemies of us Cavemice. I sharp fanged the clang of the tiger can. We were in the enormous trouble. We couldn't go back because we could end up in Tiger Khan's clutches. But we couldn't go further either because there is path is covered with quicksand. We are trapped, doomed, extinct, mouse meat. I was about to etch out my last words and testament when Hercules led us into the grove of reeds. He grabbed a hollow reed and said seriously, "Follow me." Hercules darted out of the behind the reeds and jumped into an enormous muddy pond next to the path. Loose! A moment later, Hercules' reed popped out of mud, bones and stones. Now I understand. He would hide in the super stinky muddy pond using the hollow reeds and as snorkelers for breathing. Fabulous idea, Tia cried. A moment later, she and Trap each grabbed a reed and leaped into the mud and muck. Petrified, provoking. What choice did I have but to follow them with a reed in my paw? With a reed in my paw, I stepped up to the edge of the horrifying mud swamp. Fossil feta, what a horrible stench. Before heading in, I noticed something big and round floating nearby. Guys, I found I had no idea what I found. Well, I found something that we can hold on to while we are in mud. Hercules stuck his snout out of the mud. Wow, Geronimo, you're right. That will work perfectly. We can grab onto that because we don't get pulled away by the current. On Hercules' signal of all four of us held on the ducked under the mud. We stayed positively still for as four saber-toothed tigers passed by us. I was verified as ancient fossils. Thankfully, the nasty cats didn't notice anything unusual and disappeared out of the soil. Phew! I squeaked, popping out of the mud. That was close. Yeah, but where are we? Where are those fanged felines headed? Tia asked. Trap struggled. Hopefully far away from here. Once the coast was clear, we climbed out of the mud puddle and dragging a strange megalithic floating mass behind us. Hercules pulled out his magnifying glass to take a closer look. Holy boulders, this is fossil dinosaur dropping he squeaked. Tia, Trap and I looked at one another with horrified expressions. Our snouts while we were submerged in that stinky mud. We've been holding on to dinosaur poo. How prehistorically gross. A terrible surprise. We continued our search, but we didn't spot even a shadow of a mammoth. With our tails behind our legs, we decided to turn back. Unfortunately, a truly terrible surprise waited for us in the old mouse city. The fence that protected the city was surrounded by fierce saber-toothed tigers, led by Tiger Khan himself. I clapped my paws over my eyes. Verified Poro Volcanoke. We are finished. I squeaked. This was where the nasty cats we had hidden from had been heading. They wanted to turn the citizens of Old Mouse City to rodent kebabs, and without our mammoth friends to defend us, we were in megalithic ton of trouble. We spied on the tigers from a safe distance. Now what? I whispered. I couldn't help the Paleozoic panic rising inside me. My beloved nephew Benjamin was inside the village. I had to protect him. Tia looked more determined than ever. Never give up. We will. Never gonna give. Never give up. We will figure out something. Meanwhile, the tigers were building wooden ladders that they could use to scale the wall. Just then Hercule pointed a paw. Look! Giant glaciers. Two of the tigers had captured a mammoth cub. The poor little, big guy. He had gotten lost when the rest of the mammoth herd fled. The tiger had found him, captured him, and tied him up like Jurassic. Squeak! I wouldn't want to be in his place, Trap whispered. Surely those terrible tigers will take him to their encampment in Stinky Swamp. Those nasty cards could use a good club to the head, Tia said, fronting. You would want to fight the tigers, I asked, whiskers wobbling. But what if they capture us? Tia grinned. Don't worry, I've got a solution. Hercule and I looked at her hopefully. We need to find the mammoths, Tia said matter of factly, crusty cheese chunks. Dad, thanks a lot, Hercule said. Do you think we are a bunch of cheese friends? We already tried to look for the mammoths, remember? I added. Listen to me, Tia said calmly. If the mammoths knew that one of their babies had been captured by the tigers, they would come back for him. I bet they would also teach those nasty cats a lesson. Rocky boulders, maybe my sister was right. I agreed, said Hercule. But there's still one enormous problem. How will we track down the mammoths in the first place? Maybe we could send one of our Meladaculus out for deliver a message to the mammoths, I suggested, but Hercule shook his snout. The mammoths don't know how to read. We can't send them a written message. Trap looked thoughtful. What if we tried smoke signals? Megalithic mozzarella, Hercule cried. Expiration. Everyone knows that mammoths have terrible eyesight. Plus, do any of you know smoke signals? Well, no, I said with a shrug. But then what can we do? My question hung in the air while we all stared at Hercule. After a moment, he cleared his throat and a clever smile stretched around his snout. You're not gonna believe your ears, Cavemice. Try us, I said, eager to hear Hercules' plan. He clapped his paws. I have the most monstrific idea in all of prehistory. So what are you waiting for? Tia cried. Tell us, massive meteorites. We just might be close to finding an answer to our enormous problem. A Meladactylus are flying dinosaurs that deliver messages enchanted on giant stone slabs. Hercule gave another dramatic pause, then finally exclaimed, The answer is simple. We will fly. Bones and stones? What? Trap and Tia looked at one another in confusion. But Hercule, think you're forgetting on one small detail, Tia said slowly. We don't know how to fly, right? We don't have wings, I added. Had Hercule lost his cheese? You really are a bunch of granite heads, Hercule responded, rolling his eyes. Did I say that we will fly with wings? Huh? Well, no, Trap said. That's right, Hercule went on. My dear friends, we will fly on a balloonosaurus. Tia and Trap and I all jumped onto our paws. Fossil feta, that really was a megalithic idea. Balloonosaurus are flying dinosaurs that we cavemen used for long air trips. They have wings and gas as used a normal season or spiced bean fuel. Their runaway is at the old Mouse City flight path. I placed on my paws thinking hard, but to get to the flight path, we need to cross the city. How will we avoid the tiger camped out around the city wall? I have a plan, Tia said. Listen up. First, we will enter Old Mouse City at night time, sneaking through the secret entrance in the dark so we won't be discovered. Secondly, as quiet as a mouse, we will scurry to the flight road to the board a Balloonosaurus. Finally, we will survey the island from above, search of the mammoths. That's brilliant and dangerous plan. Who am I kidding? I was so dangerous. It was so dangerous that we are risking extinction. Pointy Triceratops horns. Those tigers will spot us, I speaks in a panic. They'll capture us. They'll privatize us. Do you have a better idea? Tia asked. We have to do something, and this might work. As I hated to admit it, Tia was right. The future of the world Cavemice was at stake. So in the dead of night, we crept up to the city. We crept up to the city wall and silently crawled through the mud. We were only 2 militaries away from Tiger Khan and his henchmen. Luckily, the fearsome felines were busy dreaming up different ways they could cook a skirmish, stewed, roasted, or baked. One asked, licking his lips, "No, rodent kaboobs. As a side, would potatoes or Paleolithic onions be better? Onions, and it's even better if they are moldy. Extra flavor. Ha ha ha!" Before I could stop myself, I let a grunt of disgust. Hug. Tiger Khan pricked up his ears and scanned the dark with his ferocious eyes. Ferocious eyes. Quick! What had I done? Luckily, Hercule and Trap had a plan to save our tails. They began to make similar noises. Ah, ooh, ooh, ooh. Oh, it's just a Jurassic owl. Tiger Khan growled, disappointed. Had we fallen, he had fallen for our trick. Bold as a brie, we were almost being goners. Without a second to waste, we used the secret entrance to the Olmos city. It was made for emergencies, and this definitely qualified. When we reached the flight pod, we found the Ballonosaurus snoring happily. All about us, they were sleeping as heavy blocks of granite. We managed to wake up one, but he had 2 shriveled wings and a goofy expression on his face. We couldn't afford to be picky, though. We had to get going. We climbed aboard the Ballonosaurus, and took off just as lightning bolts lit up the sky. Zap! Jurassic Jack cheese. Just what we needed. Another storm. Mm. Crack! The Ballonosaurus had just taken off, and I was already as green as a Jurassic zucchini from fear, vertigo, and airsickness. I was a moustatic mess. Be brave, Geronimo, Trap hurled, giving me a thump on the back. Ouch! I yelped. What Paleozoic plane? Suddenly, a gust of wind made the balloon basket of the Ballonosaurus toss from one side to another. I tumbled to the bottom of the basket with my paws in the air. Bonk! But that was just the beginning. The wind began to blow harder and harder until boom! Thunder echoed all around us. This was what was going to be a megalithic storm. Our goofy Balanosaurus had trouble keeping his balance. When the sky was calm in the middle of the storm, forget it. The poor guy weaved and panted, flapping his shriveled wings and weaving every every which way. Certified Probonicono. This flight was making me squeak, wheezy. Snap and Hercule tried to stuff the Ballonosaurus with spicy beans fuel as Tia encouraged him. Be brave, big guy. Don't give up. Flap those strong wings. Strong wings? Snap murmured under his breath. This beast has sabbiest wings in the all of prehistory. Tia jabbed him with a elbow. Can't you see that he's doing his best? Zap! Just then a super powerful lightning bolt ripped through the clouds and struck the Balanosaurus tail. The poor dinosaur shriveled dangerously and began to spiral down out of the air. Holy boulders, we are doomed. No, Tia yelled. Don't give up now, you can do it. Take us higher. Come on, come on, come on. But despite her encouragement, the dinosaur fell like a stack of potatoes. We fell with him. Just Gouda glaciers. We were just a pass step away from extinction. I did the only thing I could to do at that moment. I hugged my friends and prepared for the worst, squeaking at the top of my lungs.
Goodbye, cave mouse world, saved by a whisker. We kept falling but never hit the ground. Finally, I opened my eyes, and amazingly, I wasn't extinct. Instead, I found myself sitting on something soft and comfortable. I looked up and found myself snout to trunk with, with squeak, a mammoth. I had landed right into his trunk. A beast looked annoyed. I had landed right on top of him in the middle of the night. In the middle of the night, with no warning. Well, I said, giving him my most fabulous smile. Before he could get any anger, I jumped down to the muddy ground next to Thea and Trap and Hercule, our Lunosaurus on the other paw. I landed in a small lake nearby. The poor guy was having a tough time getting out of water. Here, grab this, Tia called. Tia throwing him a rope. With his last of his strength, Ballonosaurus snagged the rope, dragged himself to the snow shore, and collapsed on the ground. He looked just about as bad as I felt. But I couldn't think about that because the mammoth I had landed was stomping our way. He looked mad. Help! Tia held up a paw. Stop! We have something to tell you. She began to tell him everything that happened while Trap and Clay tried to act out the words that she was saying. Mammoths would understand. The saber-toothed tigers had attacked the city. Track did a pursuit. They captured the baby mammoth. The Hercules jumped in the air 4 times, while Trap grimaced. The mammoth froze in shock. Then he raised himself onto the back of the legs and let out a loud trumpet. Boorah! The ground began to shake. Fossil feta. What was happening? A moment later, we were surrounded by an entire herd of mammoths. Buhar! Burao! Burua! Burua! They sounded furious. They are going to rescue the baby, Hercules squeaked. And I will bet they will teach those terrible tigers a lesson too. Trap exclaimed. What are we waiting for? Tia cried, fierce than ever. Charge! The mammoths let us climb on their backs and hurled release towards the old mouse city. Hooray! The mammoths and the cave mice were about to get their revenge. Cave mice, cave mice feast, Tiger Khan snarled. Har, har, har. His hench cats replied. Fortified, Porvacono. We didn't have a minute to lose. When the mammoths spotted the tigers, they began to tremble at them. Boora, boohura, boohura. What was going on? Tiger Khan screeched. The fierce felines on the wooden ladder stopped, confused, but the mammoths didn't give even the saber-toothed tigers the time to defend themselves. Great Gouda glaciers. It was an incredible sight. The mammoths completely purified Tiger Khan and his hench cats. They wiped those felines out like prehistoric bowling pins. Many of the tigers ended up in mud with their paws in the air. Others ran away like Jurassic jackrabbits. Others yelped like crazy little kittens. Help! Let us go! That's enough! Even the terrible Tiger Khan ran away with his tail behind his legs. Holy boulders! All this on the other for the baby mammoth and the tigers had captured was a thrill. He was finally back with his herd. As soon as the tiger was all out of sight, I scampered over and hugged the leader of the mammoths as hard as I could. Bones and stones, our mammoths were true heroes. What would have done without them? Thank you so much, my friend. I'm proud of you, Uncle Geronimo. What an terrific moment. And to make sure even better, the storm stopped. The sun finally started shining again. We climbed back onto the mammoths and made our triumphant entrance into the city. Hooray! Long live the heroes of Old Mouse City. We are surrounded by the cheering rodents, led by the village leader Ernest Heftimos. Holy borders, how exciting! My mama signaled for me to climb down. Then he ran to the baby and surrounded him with cuddles. Wait, one whisker-loving movement, bones and stones. That mammoth was the little one's dad. What a fabulous surprise! I let out a sigh of relief. It was marvelous to be home again after a long fur racing night. What a megalithic true fact! You saved almost city. And you brought the mammoths back, Ernest Cavemice proclaimed. Now turning to me and my friends, now we can restore our mammoth milkshake reserves. Hooray for the skeleton witch! Hooray for the mammoths! All the Mouse City rodents speak at the top of their lungs. To celebrate, they lifted each one of us into high into the air one by one. When it was my turn, however, Ernest Cavemice began to speak. In the name of the whole Mouse City, I officially thank Geronimo, Tia, Trap, and Hercule, all those our mammoth friends, the rodents who tossed me in the air, turned to applause and forgot to catch me. Splat! I ended up whisker deep in a giant mud puddle. Why do things like this always happen to me? I lifted my snout of the mud and wiped my paws across my eyes. You were great, Uncle G, a little voice squeaked. Huh? Massive meteoritis was my nephew, Benjamin. Even though I was soaking and wet and covered with mud, Benjamin leaped into my arms. You saved Old Mouse City. I'm so proud of you, Uncle. At that moment, I forgot all about the mud and my bumps and bruises. I just melted into Benjamin's hug like Jurassic brick left out of the sun. After this crazy adventure, the friendship between the mammoths and the Cavemice was stronger than ever. Papa Mammoth, who had brought me to the old Mouse City, seemed like he wanted to say something. Boora, 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 boora. Did I get that right? You mammoths wants to give us a gift, I asked. You give us a double ratio of curdled milk until we get our resource back. I went on translating. Well, that's fantastic. Papa Mammoth nodded happily, waving his trunk. Fossil feta, in just a few days we could restore our rest of the mammoth milk. What a terrific relief. Papa Mammoth smiled. Then, before I knew what was happening, he sucked up the pool of muddy water in his trunk and sprayed it at me. Splash! Overwhelmed by the super powerful stream of water and mud, I was knocked off my paws and splattered on the ground. 20 tails away, holy boulders! Wow, Geronimo, I think he likes you, Hercule exclaimed, laughing under his whiskers. Didn't you know that spraying water is a sign of affection before mammoths? Oh well, thanks a lot, responding, sprinkling in my soaked tail. A few days later, mammoths returned to the graze in the plateaus near the city. Thanks to the generosity, our mammoths' milkshake were full again. Ernest called for a day in celebration. We will have our reunions in a lavish band in their honor. His wife, Chatina Heffy Mouse, held up a paw to stop Ernest. Quit your squeaking. This is just an exercise for you to, to stuff your snout with food. Ernest turned red in snout. But the mammoths, not another squeak. Look as big as your belly. Chatina said, a village leader who respects himself should be agile, quick, and in good shape. He should set a fabulous example for his fellow mice. It was too bad because a banquet would have been marvelous. We were all starting to feel bad. Sorry for poor Ernest. Oh, come on, Chatina, Trap said. Be reasonable. Jurassic Charles Bragg. We earned a banquet, Hercule added. Plus, he said, a party with everyone. All together sounds pretty fabulous, doesn't it? All right, Chatina consented. We will have a party, but on a few conditions. Here were Chatina's rules. First one, the party wouldn't be held right away. We would have 2 days later. Second, during the 2 days of preparation, Ernest would eat only prehistoric salad and Paleolithic fresh fruits. During those 2 days, Ernest would have also be keeping in shape and running around all the city from dawn to dusk. Tia, Trap, Hercule, and I would run with with Ernest to make sure that he doesn't stuff his note in secret. Hercule tried to protest, but that's not fair. We also have to run and eat only fruits and vegetables. Well, it certainly won't be hurt. It won't hurt you, Chatina said. That's the deal. Take it or leave. Leave it. Don't worry, Chatina, Tia said with a wink. I make sure they're all training properly. So as we were waiting for the banquet, we began to run and eating healthy food. We were under the supervision of trainer Tia. Training, run, we have to run, we have to do push-ups, sit-ups, stretches. Come on, lazy boss, my fabulous fit sister squeaked. Move those legs, a nice run will do you good. 1, 2, 1, 2, fossil feta, how exhausting. At the end of the 2 intense days of training and dieting, I was basically mouse meat, and I wasn't the only one. Trap, Hercule, Ernest Efimos were all megalitically tired too. Tia, come on! The other paw was full of energy. Come on, Muslims. It's time to celebrate. After we bartered, changed, we joined our follow situations for the banquet. Holy brothers, it was about time. Just as the bar to start began, we all had a surge, strange sounds from the coming of the entrance. Justified, Prasman, who could it be? Had the tigers come back? Don't you get your thrills in a twist, Tia said, peeking through the holes on the city. Then it's nothing dangerous. We opened the doors to find exhausted, and shaken and sing the Balloonosaurus. That's our Balloonosaurus, I exclaimed. It was the same Balloonosaurus that had brought me, Tia, and Traptor, and Hercules in search of the mammoths. The poor dinosaur stepped towards us. But a moment later, thud, he collapsed to the ground. Holy boulders, we had completely forgotten about him. He had to return to the city alone. Poor guy. We have to help him, Tia declared positively. I said, thanks to him, we were able to save Old Mound City from the saber-toothed tigers. Just a minute, Trap protested, holding up a paw. What about the party? Patience, Trap, Tia said with a sigh. Don't be selfish. So before the banquet began, we all put our paws together to give our heroic Balloonosaurus a fabulous scented bath. We massaged his tired wings and filled his belly with special rewards. A triple serving of a super spicy bean fuel, of course. Without him, how would we have found the mammoths? How would we have saved Old Mound City from the clutches of the saber-toothed tigers? Once, once we properly thanked him, the banquet could finally begin. We reached to the enormous table. We found Ernest Heffymouse about to sink his teeth in the giant round volcano cheese, the most delicious and stinky cheese in all the prehistoric world. Ernest Heffymouse said in a speak, what are you doing? The village leader looked at his wife with a big innocent eyes. Tatina rolled her eyes. You just want to stuff your snout. Just as they continued to argue, Tia Trap enjoyed all the Cavemice facilities, among with the bowls and bowls of mammoth milkshake. Palazzolic Prova, what a righteous chicks party, and not just because of the great food banquet. The banquet stood for so much more than that. Old Mound City had been saved, and reinforced for our historic friendship with the mammoths, and my whole family would celebrate. What more could I possibly want? Nothing, dear rodents, friends. Everything was perfectly perfect. It was the way that is. But in this case, I'll always be ready for my next adventure in the Stone Age, or I'm not. Geronimo still a note. Cavemice. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and share.
It feels so good when you are around. You got the smell, got the